Hello everybody, welcome to week 1. In week 1's lecture I'm going to talk to you about basic biology. I will be explaining you about the three main molecules which this course is basically based on: DNA, RNA and protein. So in this lecture and also in upcoming 2-3 lectures I will be making your basic background of biology, and then we can move towards the computer softwares and computer tools which we are going to use. So before we can learn about all those things, we really need to learn about these three molecules, and then we can do the computer work. Basically in biology, so if you see the biological world around yourself, you can there are around 100 million species. So all these different species of different living organisms, they all are made of cells. So cell is the basic unit of life. So cell is the basic unit of life. So if you see the most simple form of life like bacteria, or the like in our layman's language we call them bugs. Starting from bacteria, going towards the most complex form of life, which is the human beings, you will see that all these organisms are made of cells. So bacteria is made of just one single cell. So inside one single cell, there is complete machinery by which the bacteria can lead an independent life. And if we see the most complex form of life like the human beings, we are also made of cells. And these cells, they together form tissues, and these tissues form organs, and the organs, they form organ systems, and organ systems, they make the organism like you and me, the human beings. So basically the life is based on a cell. So cell is the basic unit of life, and every cell is enclosed by a membrane. Now what is a membrane? Membrane is a boundary of the cell which separates the cell from its surrounding, and every cell has DNA as their genetic material. Now what is genetic material? Now genetic material, basically you must have heard about chromosomes. So every species, they have different number of chromosomes. Like humans, we have 46 chromosomes, cats have a different number, dogs have a different number, plants have a different number. So basically how many chromosomes an individual has determines its species. So these chromosomes, they basically carry the genes. So you must have heard about genes, that genes like the characters are passed from parents to children, or we share some characteristics between the siblings. So all those characters, they are carried on by the our genes, and these genes are carried on chromosomes, and these genes are basically made of a chemical called DNA. Okay, so in this course we will be also talking about another chemical, another genetic material, which is RNA. So I'm going to discuss very shortly what is DNA, what is RNA. So basically every cell is enclosed by a membrane, and they have DNA as the genetic material. Now looking at around all the different species, they all are made of cells. We can classify, or we can divide the cells into two kinds. They are prokaryotic cells and they are called eukaryotic cells. Now what is prokaryotic cell, what is eukaryotic cell? Now the word karyota, the word karyotic comes from the word karyota. Pro means false or before, eu means true. So prokaryotic cells are the cells which actually don't have a nucleus, and eukaryotic cells are the cells which have a true nucleus. So let me show you some pictures. Now you can see this is a prokaryotic cell and this is a eukaryotic cell. So this is a eukaryotic cell, this is a prokaryotic cell. So if you see them together, you can see the size of you can compare the size of the cells. You can see the prokaryotic cell is a small cell as compared to a eukaryotic cell, which is a large cell. So what's the difference between these two cells? Prokaryotic cell doesn't have a nucleus, and eukaryotic cell has a nucleus. Now what is a nucleus? So nucleus is a organelle. So scientifically we have a term called organelle. So organelle basically means a compartment. So nucleus is a compartment where the DNA is present, or the genetic material is present. So inside the nucleus are the chromosomes. Those chromosomes, they carry the genes, and these genes are made of DNA. So the prokaryotic cell, they do have DNA, they do have genetic material, but they don't have a special compartment for this DNA. And these eukaryotic cells, they have a special compartment. So this is the main difference between prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. So if I have to give you an analogy to compare prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell, I will say prokaryotic cell is a condition, or it's a cell basically, and we can compare it with a condition like if you are living in one single room. Like suppose you are living in a studio. So when you are living in a studio, suppose if this is the studio, so in this studio you will make like different corners for doing different activities. Like you can make this corner for doing your cooking, this corner you can make for sleeping, this corner, this side of the room you can make for studying. If you have children with you, you can make this part for the children to play. So basically it's one single room. These are the walls of the room. This is the cell, and inside the DNA is there, and there's no special room for that. But on the other hand, this is a eukaryotic cell which has a special room for the DNA. So a eukaryotic cell is like a proper house. Like in a proper house, like there is a kitchen for doing cooking, there is a bedroom for sleeping, there is library or office for doing the work, there is a family room, there is a sun room for doing different activities. So they in a proper house we have different compartments or rooms for doing different activities. So similarly, there is a eukaryotic cell in which there are different compartments or different organelles for doing various activities which are going on inside the cell. So nucleus is one of them. So nucleus is the organelle inside a eukaryotic cell which contains the genetic material, and genetic material is in the form of DNA. So this is the main difference between a eukaryotic cell and a prokaryotic cell. Now I already described what are your genes, what are chromosomes, and what is DNA. So basically this DNA, so these genes basically what are they doing? These genes are basically DNA is actually the code of life, it's the secret of life, it's the information. Actually DNA does not do anything itself. So who is the main player? The main player are the proteins. So we will study about proteins also, and you will see that these proteins are the ones which are doing a lot of functions inside the cell. But DNA is a code. It's a knowledge. It's a information. And from where do we get this DNA? So our life starts with the fertilization of the egg from our mother with the sperm of our father. So our life starts from this one single fertilized egg, and after that this cell divides and forms an embryo, and from the embryo a baby is born. Now a child has a DNA from both the parents. That is why we have some of the characters similar to our parents. So DNA, let's talk about DNA. So DNA is basically made of two long chains, and they are wound around each other. So DNA forms a double helix. So there are two chains which are wound around each other, and they form a double helix. And this DNA, every chain of DNA is like a polymer. Polymer means it is made of a nucleotides. Basically, something. What is a polymer? So polymer is a long chain of the monomers. So these monomers, they link with each other and form a polymer. So DNA is like a polymer. It's a long chain of monomers, and the monomers of DNA are called nucleotides. So we will be very shortly discussing what are nucleotides. And every nucleotide has a nitrogenous base A, G, C, T out of either of these. So in this course, this A, G, C, Ts are going to be very important for you, because we are going to talk everything in terms of these A, G, Cs and Ts. So you can see this is your DNA. DNA is double helix, and this is one chain of DNA. So this is, you can see, one chain of DNA. So as I said, DNA itself does not do anything. DNA is a code of life, and DNA makes proteins, and the process by which the DNA makes proteins, that process is called gene expression. And this process, it involves two steps. And So basically the information in DNA will be converted into RNA, and we call this process transcription. So DNA is transcribed into RNA, and then the RNA will be translated into protein by the process of translation. So gene expression involves two steps: transcription and translation. So the information in DNA will be converted into RNA, and RNA will be converted into protein. So this is what is gene expression. And actually, before we talk about this, as I already told you, there are two kinds of nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. We will be talking about the differences between DNA and RNA. So DNA directs the synthesis of messenger RNA, which is called mRNA, and through mRNA proteins are formed, and the proteins are formed on ribosomes. And what are ribosomes? These are like the protein factories. Like you can see here, suppose this is your cell, okay? So this is, if this is the membrane, this is the nucleus where the DNA is there. This whole region, this region is called the cytoplasm. So this is your DNA, you can see here. This is double helix, two strands which are wrapped around each other. Now the information in DNA, and I will be very shortly discussing with you what do I mean by the information in DNA. The information in DNA is converted into mRNA, messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA then goes from the nucleus and it goes into the cytoplasm, where it is going to go and sit on the ribosomes, which are the protein factories, and the polypeptides are going to be made on the ribosomes, and these polypeptides further form the proteins. So this is the whole process. So this is what is important thing in this course. DNA is in the nucleus. The information in DNA, which is in the form of the nitrogenous bases. So when I say the information in DNA, I am talking about the sequence of DNA. And you will very shortly see the sequence of DNA is in the form of the order of the nitrogenous bases which are present in the nucleotides. So this is DNA, this is double stranded, and the information will be converted into RNA, and RNA, as you can see, it is single stranded, and this is called this RNA is called messenger RNA, mRNA. And after this mRNA is formed, the information from DNA is there. It will go from this nuclear pore, it will go to the cytoplasm. There it is going to go and bind on the ribosomes, which are protein factories, and here the proteins are going to be made. First of all, the polypeptides are going to be formed, and they are going to make the proteins. So this is what is gene expression. So you can see here DNA, because DNA has all the knowledge. DNA is very powerful. DNA is sitting inside the nucleus. DNA is like king, because kings are very powerful and they themselves don't move. They send their messengers. So this DNA is sending its messenger, and this messenger RNA is carrying the message of the king, which is the DNA, and goes out and goes to the factory, protein factory, and that protein factory is the ribosome, and there it is going to make the polypeptide, and these polypeptides makes the proteins. So basically the main message is coming from the DNA, which is making your genes, and it is making the protein, and proteins are the ones which do majority of functions in your cells.